Hi, James.
Hi there.
Good to be with you, Carl.
Yeah, well, good to have all of you with us. It's a really exciting day for Accord.
Yeah, no boots, no hard hats.
There are boots and hard hats in this process.
I haven't got mine.
Virtual boots, virtual hard hats.
Is it a virtual buffet?
That's a saving we've made.
Well, we haven't made a saving because we spent it on turning Tom into a film star.
That is a good point, actually.
Oscar.
Cruise.
That's where your prawn sandwich has gone, Bill.
Oh, I see. Tom's been called many things in the past.
Hi, Nils. Hi, Rebecca. And somebody else joined as well. Hi, Gordon. Just to say, we are recording this session because it's part of our Charm Inspiration Day, and it will end up on the European Federation for Living's YouTube channel. So just be aware that we are recording, but it is meant to be an informal, friendly occasion. Hi, Claire. Hi, Farhat. We'll just give people a couple of minutes to join because there are still people joining at a rapid pace of knots. Hi, the Alliance for Sustainable Building Products. Well done on your session this morning. I thought your Dragon's Den was excellent.
Thanks, Carl.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Bill. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, it's my week off, this is.
That explains what Carl was saying to me yesterday, how you were managing to make me get all the sessions this week.
Yeah. I'm at sessions every day.
I think it's called a busman's holiday, Bill, isn't it, that?
It is. We learned a lot, circularity and reusing. Really good stuff.
Good.
We'll just give it another minute or two for people to join because there are still people joining. So.
We should probably also say that Helen Ward is here, who has the unenviable task of trying to do architectural technician work on a virtually plastic-free homes as well.
I was trying to stay quiet and unnoticed.
My apologies.
Well then, Tom.
really stuck my foot in.
It's okay. It's a task that is will be fun. I'm sure it will be. Has to be, right?
It's great positivity,
Yeah.
Shall we make a start, Mark? I think we seem to have got the people that are coming. We seem to have slowed up having new entrants at the moment, so we can still admit people as we start, but so people don't get hung around and we have too long and awkward silence whilst waiting for it to start. Might be worth kicking off. Is that okay, Mark?
Fine by me, thanks, Carl. So, yeah, you can see my name. It's Mark Patchett. I work for Accord, and I'd like to thank you very much for coming and joining us to mark the start of this Accord's 12 virtually plastic-free houses at Edward Street, Redditch. I'm sure it's a little different to the groundbreaking events you usually attend. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get going. There's a chat function. So you're all muted at the moment, so that if you do think of any questions as you're going along, or for anybody, please use the chat function and use that. We're also hoping to be able to facilitate some breakout rooms if you want to network with anybody afterwards. So again, if you make a request on that, probably using the chat function to start off with, and we'll see what we can sort out. So as you can tell, we're very excited about this project, hence the ceremony, and we're not going to stop at anything to make sure we celebrate this particular project. Accord's been very much committed about developing low carbon housing solutions for many, many years. But this is our next step. This is our step whereby we're aiming to believe what we think will be the UK's first virtually plastic-free houses. We're going to use less plastic or as minimal plastic as possible during the whole construction process. You'll hear about it from Tom in a minute, but when it comes to fitting out kitchens, bathrooms, windows, plastic used in all building materials. You know, building used to be very much using natural materials, and it's, as new products have come along to the market, plastic has invaded it, and we're looking to try and reverse some of that process and get back to more natural materials. We couldn't do this, and it's important we mention this right from the kick-off. CHARM, the Circular Housing Asset Renovation and Management, I had to read that out because I'd never remember it, has been made possible through support of 1.2 million from the EU, from Interreg, Northwest Europe Funding Partnership. And it's not just the funding, it's the support and the facilitation of all of that, but it wouldn't be possible without them. I've said that we're very committed as an organisation to energy efficient housing, reducing carbon. Accord goes the extra mile though in terms of trying to make sure we deliver on our promises, and we're quite rare and different as an organisation because we've got our own factory, Local Homes, whereby we manufacture closed panel timber frames, which we think are very energy efficient. We also have our own InDesign architectural practice. So that means that we can design it from the word go and make sure we get the best out of the factory, but also get the best out of the homes that we're going to be built. And we also construct them ourselves. We have our own in-house construction division. So by owning all of that, we're able to really make sure that we can manage the supply chain, manage all the products to make sure that we can go the extra mile in ensuring that we get to these virtually plastic-free homes. They're going to be, it's a great project in terms of the building materials and everything that we're going to go on, but Accord is much more about putting roofs up and making numbers of units. It's about creating homes and communities. So not only is this well sited in the centre of Redditch, close to a railway station, trying to increase town centre living, be much easier for people to have access to a whole range of facilities. We've also worked very closely and promoted housing cooperatives, and we're delighted that we're working with another housing cooperative on this site, Redditch Cooperative Homes. We've got a long-standing working relationship with them, and we believe that by involving people in the management of their homes, it can be a far better place for them to live. I think it's also important, we've talked about the circularity of this project. It's quite a circular occasion in a way. It was 10 years ago where Accord did its first off-site manufacturing project in Redditch. So we're here 10 years later with the next innovative thing, and I wonder what we'll be doing in 10 years' time. I'll let you come up with some suggestions on that. But, we paved the way for being the UK's first to own a manufacturing plant and to manufacture low-carbon homes. It'd been lovely to meet you all on site today. It'd be lovely to do have the prawn sandwiches or whatever it would have been on site to complement all of this. But we do have a short film which will hopefully give you a flavour of the site and what we're trying to do, and you get to see so much more of Tom and Carl as well. So hopefully if Tom presses the right buttons, we'll see the film.
Unmute. So let me just check I've got all of the sound and it's optimized. Okay.
Let's start work on the UK and Europe's first virtually plastic-free homes.
For over a decade now, Local Homes has been developing a technique which has its roots in Scandinavian forests and quality building methods. The embodied carbon of a closed panel timber frame product is around 4 times less than a brick wall. Brick walls are stuck together with cement, an industry that represents around 7% of greenhouse gas emissions. We want to move away from an economy that takes, makes and wastes our resources into one that reuses, repurposes and adapts in order to make sure that we have a circular economy. A circular economy is about reusing, regenerating and making useful resources that we already have. Plastics are causing a lot of issues in the environment, and we have a lot of indoor air pollution problems. For example, in the Accord virtually plastic-free homes, we're using natural lime and graphene paints, which are traditional combined with a 21st century material. Plastics go into the environment eventually. Often they are burnt or exported to different countries where they have worse environmental regulations. We know that at the moment around fewer than 10% of plastics are recycled globally, and we know that there are a lot of great initiatives to try and improve this, but we think, and what we're trying to do with this initiative, is remove plastics as much as possible from our homes, and the construction industry has really changed from not using plastics to using a lot of plastics in the last 50 years. So this is a really large change for Accord and for the construction industry. So we're trying to open up a conversation about plastics and how our homes are built, and that's a big step change for construction. Okay, pass back to Mark.
Thank you, Tom. So I mentioned before it was 10 years ago that we did our first off-site manufacturing project in Redditch, and we've had a long-standing relationship with Redditch, and this particular development is part of a £25 million investment in regeneration and new affordable homes in Redditch for us, not just this project, but a whole series of sites that we've got in the town centre. So I'm really pleased that we've been joined by Kevin Dix today, the Chief Executive of Redditch Borough Council and Bromsgrove District Council. He's going to share with us a little bit about the vision for the council and regenerating Redditch Town Centre. So over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Mark. Firstly, it's nice to meet you all virtually. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. I'm sure we'd all like to be meeting on site today. I'm not sure about the prawn sandwich, Mark, but it would be good to meet you all in person. I can't believe it's 10 years. I know Bill Hartlett's on the line, and I remember working with Bill on that sort of development. And I guess the benefit of the sort of lockdown, if indeed there is one, is you get to meet colleagues again. So first I'd like to thank, I know Chris can't be here, but Chris, Mark and Carl at Accord for the very kind invite to be the guest speaker at the opening event of the Charm virtually plastic-free project today. I have to say I feel very privileged to be invited to do this, and quite humbled really, not only because of the groundbreaking innovative nature of the project, but also because it's enabled me to renew acquaintances with Chris and Carl, but also meet people such as Mark and Tom. I think the invite as well alone is just testimony to the ethos of Accord and their appetite to work in partnership with others to deliver the widest community benefit possible, and that's absolutely crucial to me and the people of Redditch. And I also think, as I say, reflect on that 10 years journey, it just shows how innovative and leading Accord are, and I think it's just worth pressing pause really and reflecting on that. Just in terms of the video, and I say I'm sure we would have all preferred to have seen it in sight, I think I'd just like to sum it up in one word, and that's wow. As I say, it's unfortunate we can't meet it in person, but I hope you agree with me. The video highlights actually this is the sort of thing we should be doing more of. When I first spoke to Mark about this, I didn't really get my head around it until the video explained it. And I think the aspirations, again, are what we should all really aspire to. And hopefully this will lead through this conference call and this sort of conference, we will do more of this across not just England, but the world. Obviously, I'm sure you've all been to Redditch, but in speaking to Mark, Carl and Tom yesterday, they asked me to do just a brief introduction of Redditch, just in case you're not aware where the town is or what we stand for. So for those who don't know it, Redditch is set within the beautiful county of Worcestershire, just 14 miles away from Birmingham, obviously England's second city, and has great transport connectivity, particularly by rail, but also by road. Obviously, as Mark said, this site will be at the Edward Street site, very close to the train station. And we are connected just sort of 30 minutes drive away to Birmingham International Airport. Redditch was designated new town in 1964, and I think has successfully mixed the old with the new, but I think everyone accepts now is a time for regeneration. And this is why this project is of such importance to us and the people of Redditch. Redditch, if you don't know it, is world renowned for the needle making industry, and this is celebrated and preserved through the Forge Mill Needle Museum with the remains of the 12th century monastic Bordesley Abbey nearby. We've also got the award-winning Arrow Valley Country Park and Sailing Lake, which can be found just a short distance from the town centre. Yet nearby, we also have the international headquarters of big businesses such as GKN and also Halford's head office. We are a relatively small urban borough, but we do honestly believe we punch above our weight. We cover just 54 square miles and is home to about 80,000 people. We like to think of ourselves as the town within the forest. Not many people know this, but we have over a staggering 5 million trees within the borough, with an enviable amount of green space and landscaping for such a significant urban population. We do like to say we have more trees than Sherwood Forest, and I'm pleased to say we have no Robin Hood within the borough though. So hopefully that's articulated why Redditch really has got a lot going for it. So if you haven't been, and it's probably going to be when it's times are safer, we would be delighted to welcome you on site. And I'm sure Mark and Carl, once we hopefully complete these buildings, we would like to have a formal opening ceremony, hopefully on site at some point. Whilst I said earlier that we have successfully mixed the old and the new in Redditch, I think now, and everyone accepting it, now is a time for regeneration. And I just wanted to share with you some of the exciting plans that we at Redditch Borough Council, our partners, have to regenerate the town and truly sort of unlock Redditch. The great news is, as Mark said, so you said £25 million from Accord. We've been identified as one of 101 towns in the country that are eligible for government funding of £25 million. This, as always, is subject to a detailed business case being accepted by the government, and our intention is to submit that at the end of January 2021. Along that journey, there will be quite a lot of public consultation events to make sure we're doing the right things for the people of the town and the borough. Last week, and this is probably about the second or third time I've worn a shirt since sort of the pandemic started, we were also fortunate to welcome the Secretary of State and take him around the town and show him what our aspirations were. And I think he was quite pleased with that vision. Our plan as it stands today includes 4 quarters, so enterprise and education, new residential and railway quarter, which is where this project sits, a public sector and cultural quarter, which includes the creation of a community hub, which will hopefully be comprising of the health, local authority, private and public sector partners. And then last but by no means least, retail and leisure quarters. Obviously, this project is key to help delivering our wider town centre vision, but is also one of the other council's key priorities, that of addressing climate change and around sustainability. This project will go a long way to addressing one of those issues within that, around building sustainable homes. And as Mark said, the other key benefit of this is and around the education, the enterprise and education quarter, but also the residential quarter, is around providing much needed homes for people, which will bring much more life into the town centre. The final thing to say probably is the location for this is key. We are really well connected to Birmingham, the second city, the wider conurbation of the West Midlands, but also the country and internationally. But this site and this development will allow that better connectivity and help us to progress that train station and that interconnectivity with the wider West Midlands. I am really proud, and I would just like to finish by saying thank you for your time, wishing everyone involved in this project good luck. I'm sure it will be a fantastic success, as was the project 10 years ago, and all the other things that Accord have done, and will be truly another example of Redditch leading the way and others following. Thank you, Mark. I hope that's been of interest, but I wish everybody well with the project.
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Kevin. Right. Tom, Carl, I don't see any questions at this moment in time.
No, I don't either, but people are very welcome to ask questions of Mark, Kevin, or myself, and we will do our very best to answer them. And also, if people just want to chat, they are very welcome to for the next sort of 40-odd minutes. So if anybody's got any questions, please fire away. The timescales for delivery are that we need to complete the development of these homes by September 21. So we're going to take a 12-month period building these homes. We have still got a number of issues that we want to iron out and make sure we get them absolutely right, because as Kevin says, we do see it as a big showcase not just for Redditch, but also for Accord Housing Association. And so we're not going to rush the construction of this. It's going to take 12 months to construct. We're going to complete the construction in September 21, and then we have, as part of the Interreg funding conditions, a number of promotional events that we have to do as part of the project in order to meet our funding obligations. There'll be a site opening and other public events to promote the work that we've done as part of the grant funding requirements.
Shouldn't have asked for questions now, Carl.
Shall I answer the questions and then we let Bill comment? Is that all right?
And also Barry has his hand up as well.
Okay, so if I answer the questions and then Barry and Bill and anybody else that wants to say a few words can say a few words. Are there plastic applications that you've decided to stick with as plastic is the most suitable, lowest net impact material? We set ourselves the mission of trying to take out plastic completely. Not necessarily, there are places where if we were repeating the exercise without that goal, we would probably use a plastic material rather than something we've substituted it for. So for example, in electric wiring, we're not using plastic electric wiring, but that's probably a lower net impact material than the one we've substituted it for. Having said that, there are a couple of places where we can't take plastic out from the development, and there are other people in the room that can talk much more wisely on this. But one is we have to make sure we don't have radiant gas seeping up from the ground in its odourless, invisible state and poisoning the people that live in the new homes. That would be absolutely the worst outcome that we could have from building virtually plastic-free houses. And so we are using a plastic membrane to protect from radiant gas on the ground level. And in addition to that, because we're building an apartment block rather than individual houses, there are some fire safety precautions that we have to do. And so we are using intermittent strips to expand where regulations require it and where fire safety requires it, so that if there's a fire, they close off gaps and voids so that the fire can't spread, and that fire safety obviously is not something that we can compromise in terms of our ambition to be plastic free. And then the third area where we think there will be plastics is that one of the utility companies' meters. We've not managed to convince them to take out plastic meters and replace them with something else. And also in the electrical switch gearing, there were some very small, incredibly expensive materials that we could use as sockets that weren't plastic, but they weren't financially viable for us to use. So whilst we'll be using metal casing around the electrics and using non-plastic wiring, there will be inside the switchgear of the electrical components some plastic components. Which elements have been the most challenging to replace with plastic alternatives, and how did you overcome these challenges? Electrics, I think, has been our biggest challenge, but also just getting our head around the complexities of this. So we've had to start from scratch, from the drawing board, and go through, and we're now on our 4th iteration of this, go through every component of the house, checking it for plastic and trying to work out what alternatives we could have, but doing that in a holistic way, because you take plastic out of somewhere and then somebody says, oh, well, that means you've got to use plastic in this place in order to make it work. So, for example, in the foundations of the building, that's been a particular debate and discussion of ours. So it's about looking at the house as a whole, I think, has been the biggest challenge, and actually taking the time to deconstruct and reconstruct the house in a theoretical sense 3 or 4 times to try and make sure that we've got rid of as much plastic as possible. What was the hardest and the easiest products to switch away from plastic? I suppose the easiest decision was where we could make a cost saving. And there are some areas where we've worked out by taking plastic, we can make a cost saving. So, for example, the door intercom system, we're going to use a smart door intercom system for this block, which relies on people using their phone in order to let people in and out of the block. That avoids us having to put hard wires from the front entrance door to each individual resident's apartment. Saves a lot of plastic, but was also a much cheaper way of doing it for ourselves. So that was the easiest way, and the hardest solution has been electronics, I think, in terms of trying to come up with a solution. Can you share some drawings or information about what the construction is made up of? Yes, certainly. We're going to be doing that as part of this project, and look for further events where we can go into a more technical discussion of the actual structure of the walls. For example, we're using Udifirm insulation panels to remove some of the plastic vapor membranes that we would have in a traditional construction system. But we will have some more technical events that will look at that, where we can share that information. What materials were, I've answered that, I think, above. Compared to business as usual projects, how did plastic-free project impact on your project delivery in terms of timing? Do you expect delays because sometimes it's more difficult to find plastic-free alternatives to certain products? I think we've given ourselves a longer build time than we would normally give ourselves in order to be confident about this, and then also in case there are any issues that come up that need clarification. And we've also had a much longer lead-in time than we would normally have, thinking about what we're going to build the product out of than we would usually take. So yes, we do expect some delays, but we've timed those into the programme, so we hope we will be completed by September 21. And yes, we've taken a lot longer thinking about how we would build this home than we would usually if we were building a standard home. Were there any barriers to using products that you would have preferred? Were you able to overcome the barriers, or did you need to substitute them? We've had a sort of ongoing discussion about that, and yes, there have been cost barriers, there have been technical barriers, and there have been this sort of holistic house challenge barrier that we faced. And we honestly thought we would be able to get rid of the radiant membrane on the ground level, and that was a real disappointment to us when we had to put that back in. But whilst Redditch is a beautiful place, I'm looking out at part of that forest from my window as we speak. Whilst it's a beautiful place, it does have radiant gas underneath the ground at a level which requires protection, and obviously we have to put safety first in that. How much consideration has been given to the reusability, recyclability of the plastic replacement materials? I'm thinking the full LCA for different materials. Tom, do you want to answer the reuse question? Because I've just realised I've been talking for a long time. The question from Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of, with plastics, we're assuming that it's very difficult to reuse and recycle a lot of the times when we're replacing materials, we're replacing one plastic material with multiple non-plastic materials. And I think we discussed this in another session about kind of potentially, if you swap a metal in for a plastic, that's going to have a higher carbon impact, for example. But I guess we're looking at, if plastics are often going into the environment, or they're often composite plastics, they're going to be very, very difficult to recycle. Currently, recycling rates are lower than 10%. So there are some aspects where we've chosen a bio-based approach, where we're looking at what will happen in terms of compostability and regeneration in terms of biological systems, rather than just on this cycle, if you know what I mean. So it's not causing toxicity in the ground. But other projects in the CHARM project are looking at using plastics and using already recycled plastics, and how they can ensure that the data that they collect allows them to hopefully reuse and recycle, and also exchange materials in the future.
Do you plan to encourage future residents of the homes to continue with a plastic-free mentality in their day-to-day activities? I suspect this might be one for Hazel, to be honest, if Hazel's happy to answer it. Hazel's the manager of Redditch Cooperative Homes, and will be working with the co-op, which will be recruiting to move in these houses shortly, and we'll be having an ongoing dialogue with the people that live in those homes. I think from our perspective, we're trying to build these homes so they're as normal a home as possible for someone to live in, and they don't notice any difference between a virtually plastic-free house and a house that's stuffed full of plastic. But obviously, Hazel will probably be able to comment a little bit on that. Or not. She's on. She.
Hi, folks. Am I here?
Yeah, we can hear you.
The joys of technology, eh? Yeah, I mean, we will have to go through our standard recruitment process when it comes to allocating properties. We will obviously be giving people an overview of the design elements of the plastic-free homes that they'll be likely to be moving into. And obviously the environment that we're all living in these days is one where you know, everybody is being encouraged to try and do as much as they can to reduce their uses of plastic in day-to-day lives. So it is hoped that it will be very much an inspiration for new applicants, new tenants, to hopefully continue to you know, drive out plastic as much as they possibly can within their lifestyles. Obviously we can't force them to do that, so it will be something that we will encourage, but it may not be something that we're able to monitor in such a close way, depending on the nature of the types of people that we have that move into those properties when they're actually completed.
And I think it's not just this particular site that we've got our focus on, because this site, as we said before, is part of a series of sites that Redditch Co-op Homes and Accord are going to be developing around the town centre. That's going to be an important regeneration project. Those developments will all be using a low carbon building technique, which makes it probably one of the UK's more significant eco settlements that are going to be built. That fits within the larger regeneration strategy that Redditch Borough Council will be having around its regeneration of the town centre. So it's not just the future residents of these 12 homes that we hope to influence to live in a more sustainable way. It's the town centre of Redditch that we would be hoping to live in a more sustainable way as a result of this work, I think. So hopefully that answers the question, Helen. Debbie M's question is, will the ongoing maintenance of the building be easier or more difficult? I think the answer is the building will certainly be more robust for the result of it not being plastic, and therefore we think that the materials will need to be changed less frequently. So, for example, we think there'll be a longer life of the kitchen units, there'll be a longer life of the bathroom suite, there'll be a longer life in the windows and doors in these properties, because not using plastic makes the materials more robust and stronger and more durable. So we are hoping there is a saving in the ongoing maintenance of the property. We haven't put that into our appraisal for these homes, I have to say, and certainly any savings that we've got in the maintenance are not going to offset the additional costs that we've used from not using plastic, because one of the things that we've learned very clearly is that plastic is an incredibly cheap material, which is why it's used so much in the construction industry. That doesn't necessarily always make it the best material for doing something, and that's the other lesson that we've learned, is very often there's a better material, but it does come at a cost, but we also think it will be more durable. So hopefully that will answer Debbie M's question. Some regulators would not allow a non-plastic solution. In the electrical regulations, there are places where it specifies plastic, and therefore you can't get around from that without rewriting the electrical regulations in the UK. And likewise, there is no other product on the market that acts as a radiant gas membrane that we've been able to discover that isn't plastic. And plastic is actually determined in those regulations around radiant gas protection as well. We haven't as yet gone to the regulator and said, how do you change these regulations to be non-plastic defining? But we haven't done that because we haven't also found out an alternative solution that would do the job necessarily. And so I think we see this as starting that conversation, this project. As Tom said, we want to start a conversation in the construction industry about how we move to a more natural, more sustainable construction method. And we see this as a contribution to a discussion and a conversation, not necessarily the solution to every problem. And there were people that come with projects that build on what we've done, hopefully, across the UK and across Europe to try and come up with solutions.
In terms of a product that operatives might have raised concern about, I guess the electrical wiring is used in very, very robust, like fire. It's very fire safe, and it's kind of like the type of stuff that used to be used in very high-rise apartments or in like nuclear plants or in very high security applications. And we talked about this before. It's like a lot of copper and magnesium oxide. So it's very safe, but it requires like a different type of electrical work. So there's specialists that do that type of electrical work. So that's kind of like a concern, but it's more about like a skill level or a skill type. But yeah.
And then the next question about what do you think the non-plastic products that you'll be looking to adopt into the standard design specification of local homes in other future products, and what would you not look to adopt straight away? I think the aim is for us to have a product from local homes that will be plastic free. We have local homes, and Mark is probably much better qualified to talk about this. We have an Eco 100 product, an Eco 200 product, which is about 20% better than the current building regs. Not than the ones that are about to be introduced. We are building a more super advanced Eco Homes product for the local homes factory as well, and we think this will be a fourth product that the factory will be able to offer in terms of the technology and the ability to sell homes that are virtually plastic free and using natural materials going forward. So there'll be four products, but Mark's probably much better able to talk about this than myself.
I think the beauty of us being able to construct and use the factory in this is that there's the buildability, how things work, do they deliver on site on time, what sort of accuracy is the new product, etc. We'll be able to monitor this throughout this project, and actually it'll probably surprise people. Some things will work really well and some things will be brilliantly on time and, you know, help all the other construction things. There's an awful lot of things rather than just the base cost of the product that impacts on construction costs. You know, time, you know, the quality, all those other things have a big impact. And so sometimes I hope what we'll learn by handling all aspects of the development is those products which you're thinking, actually, they're a really good supplier. And, you know, they will help us in terms of turning things around quickly, keeping our prelims costs down, etc., etc. It's not always just a case of what's the actual cost of the product. So I don't know is the short answer to what will be the thing that we'll really take up, etc. after. I think the whole point of this is that we're trying a lot of things, we've researched a lot of things, and let's see if it actually comes out in the wash when we're building it and it's as good as it says on the tin, and we'll take it forward from there.
And then Helen's question about the longer leading time for design considerations. Because it's a European funded project, we had the concept probably two and a half years ago when some members of staff were sat on the M5 leaving the office at West Bromwich and looking at Marine Conservation Society posters of turtles suffocating on plastic. And thinking, well, how do we do something about this? What should our contribution as a Accord be around this? How do we take the next step from low carbon housing to low impact housing? How do we close the circle in terms of the products that we use in our housing? And so it's probably about 2.5 years since we had the initial concept. It stayed as an initial concept very much whilst we went through the European funding. It was successful in terms of the project being taken up by Interreg, North West Europe's office. And then we've probably spent 18 months, 12, 14 months going through rounds of looking at the specification of the house, first of all from a client side, then from a design side, then from a design and contractor side, and now from a technical side as well. So we've gone through this sort of continual trying to identify all the plastic and take them out and bring in other design professionals as we've gone along in a holistic way to try and make that work. So because we've done that, there's been a lot of additional time taken in the design of this, so probably about 18 months, which wouldn't be work that would be done if we were building a standard house without looking for that innovation. Having said that, having done it once, it will be very easy for us to do it again and to assist other people to do it, should they so wish. And a lot of the questions that we've answered, we'll be able to assist people to answer going forwards. So hopefully we can stop people needing to take 18 months thinking about what they're going to do as a design part of the design process going forward. But other people also will come up with different solutions to the ones that we've come up with.
Yeah, and also I guess there's a lot of there's quite a lot of materials or products that we've found that then haven't been signed off ready to use yet. So there's like a lot of things that are in development and then we can't necessarily use them in this project, but we know that they kind of exist and are being developed, and you know, that's the kind of, it's an innovation project. So
yeah, we came across mycelium, which we thought was going to be the solution to everything very early on in the development of this process. Mycelium is a natural material that's based on fungus, but it's inert and it has incredibly good insulative properties. And so we thought we would be using mycelium as the insulator, and we also thought we could use it to run the cabling inside. But unfortunately, the production of mycelium hasn't yet reached the point where we could use it as a commercially viable product with the warranties in place, because it's important that we build these homes, but it's also important that we can fund these homes. So we have to be able to get a mortgage on these homes to match the grant funding that's been going in. And if products haven't reached that status in the market where they've got their warranties and guarantees in place, then we're not able to use them. And that was a problem that we faced with mycelium. But we do think if you revisit this project in 3 years, then hopefully you'll be able to put a lot of mycelium in to replace some of the plastic, and because in theory it has the properties to be a fantastic material.
Good stuff.
I think we then had Bill that wanted to. I think.
Oh yeah, Bill, and also Barry wanted to ask a question as well.
Thanks for looking at the final one.
Yeah, if may now, Carl?
Yes, and I'll answer Ellen's question after Bill and Barry have spoken.
Yeah, just say who I am. I'm Bill Hartnett, Chair of Redditch Co-op Homes and local Redditch Councillor. Say we've had over 20 years of unique partnership between the Housing Association and the council, and it both win. I mean, the council get quality houses and our housing list goes down. 20 years of invention and innovation. As has been said, the wooden houses and the unique partnership. It's really, really strong partnership that we've got together. We're the largest new build co-op in the UK, and those people wouldn't have been housed without the co-op. So this is the future. Plastic free is clearly the future. Wooden housing, Code 6. I'm incredibly proud and excited for it to be here in Redditch. It's going to look the same from the outside, but very different from the inside. And one of the unique things we do in Redditch when we have these new innovations, we bring the people living in there along with us. So Kevin Dix will remember, he was present at a council meeting. There was a row in the next room. Said, "I'll go and quiet them down, Bill." It was the birth of a co-op, so we didn't quiet them down. So we select the tenants and we build the community as we build the properties. So it's important we look after not only innovative new housing, but innovative way of living with the tenants in those properties as well. And they have a say of what's going on in their environments and in their housing co-op. So it really is innovative and it's the future way going forward. So I'm really proud and excited that it's here in Redditch, and hopefully it'll be a beacon of example for others to follow in the future. So well done everyone involved with it. Congratulations.
And Barry?
Oh, hello. Yes. Well, I'm speaking to you from Malvern, which is, of course, in South Worcestershire, and very envious of the wonderful partnership and the activities that you've been doing in Redditch. I might say I'm very impressed. I speak to you as a trustee of a charity called Engage Malvern, where we're trying to do innovative pilot projects. And one of those, of course, is in the area of community-led housing. And our pilot projects would always look for innovation, because just as you're effectively doing pilot projects there, to not only to serve certain citizens, but also to carry forward your industry and show that the building industry, which by and large has not been very forward, but it can be very forward, and there isn't any doubt that you are. My second heading is that I'm a professional engineer. I was vice president of the IET, so at the top level, electrical engineer, and so I'm very impressed by the way in which you've been going about looking at the various materials and so on. And there isn't any doubt that I will be, when we are looking for sites at the moment with our local councils, and I shall certainly be pressing Engage Malvern to knock on the door of Accord and say, look, what would you like to do on a site that we've got, which would either replicate what you've already done, but probably want to carry it forward some way. So bear in mind, we are pilot people. We are wanting to try new things and to get our community moving in the sort of direction. I did want to have a brief word with Kevin, but he probably disappeared, has he? Has Kevin gone? Because, oh, there's Kevin. Hello, Kevin. Obviously, I'm very impressed with what you've been doing there. And, you know, obviously you're perfectly entitled to be very proud of Redditch and its people and councillors and all the companies you've got there. What I'm interested to know is, Kevin, has some of the magic that you've got up there begun to rub off? Or do you think we can get some of it to rub off on some of our leaders down in the south part of the Worcestershire? I'll be very careful in what I say now, but I just want to say that we do not have the brightest and best in this part of the world. And partly that's because we do not have a borough council of the size that you've got. our district councils and our town councils and our parish councils are all tin pot affairs, and frankly, on a very low, I would say on a very low performance basis. But that's partly because of the money they've got, but partly because of the kind of people they've failed to attract into their scenario. So the question is, how can we get some of the magic that you've got up there in your borough council? Now, I'm not asking you to say anything political because you'll get yourself into trouble. But what I'm really asking is, do you have working relationships with other people in our part of the world? And I'd be encouraging our people to say, for God's sake, why don't you pull some of the magic these guys have got and pull it into our area?
Thanks, Barry. I'm not sure how to answer that. Really.
No, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't expect you to say anything political, but I'm just really asking, do you have linkages? Do you have working linkages? Does the north part of Worcestershire talk to the south part of Worcestershire? That's what I'm really asking.
Yeah, I'm desperately trying not to look at Bill Hartnett when I see I'm answering this question, because obviously Bill's been on this journey as leader of the council for a number of years with me on this. I think it's fair to say, and I don't know whether Brandon Clayton's on the call as well, what we try to do in Redditch is, as I said in my sort of brief presentation, punch above our weight. We really care about the people of the town, and we're always trying to sort of put a strong case of getting as much from the county council, but also sharing our learnings with colleagues in the south. So we have good relationships, and indeed I was on a call with the other district council chief execs this morning, and the county council director of economy and infrastructure. That was predominantly around COVID, as you can imagine, but we do have strong relationships, but more than happy always to have those conversations. Core to our ethos, as is Accord, which is why, as I say, it's one of those frustrations with modern living that I haven't spoken to Carl as much as I could have done or should have done over the last few years, but it is great to sort of re-engage with Carl. But it's the way we operate. We operate as in partnership for the good of the people we serve, and that's the philosophy that we have within the Borough Council, and I think that's why we're able to do work such as this. So happy to, I probably should declare an interest. I actually live in the south of the county, as Bill knows. So I need to be careful, otherwise they might not let me past Hadrian's Wall again if I come back down south.
But Bill, I mean,
happy as always to share some of this innovative stuff.
Bill, I'm praising your council and what you've gone up to. Obviously, you're all in public service. And as a charity, I guess we're trying from a voluntary point of view to do the same thing. And, you know, I'd like to see some of the magic that you've been generating up there at least come. I will certainly be pressing very hard in this part of the world to try and move it forward in the kind of ways that you guys have been doing. And we do have good working links with some of the councillors, and we are trying to lift their aspirations and all the rest of it. And because they're so small, with such relatively modest budgets and what have you, whereas your borough council, you've got 80,000. You see, we're not in that. We're divided. We've got, you know what it's like. It's Evesham, Pershore, Malvern, and so on. The trouble is, they're all little noddles, and none of them carry much weight. And you can't get them to work together. I mean, we've got two district council here where all the senior officers work for the two, and the two district councils are tied separately. So you've got all this wretched partisan politics, and we cannot get to the size level that would allow the area to develop in the way that it could.
I can say to you, Barry, it can work, and we can come to Malvern, or you can come to us, arrange a visit. You don't need money. If you've got land and you've got the will, it can be done. The council have got powers of planning. The council have got powers of persuasion. There's not lots of money involved in building these it's for a court, but they can't buy them if it's a cooperative house. So the investment is sound, and you're housing people and you're improving the lives of those people. It's not just a housing benefit, it's the economic benefit. I mean, we can give you stats where people went in there without a job and got jobs and got better jobs, become school governors. All we've done is release their potential and set them free. And they've gone on to greater and better things. So it's not all about money and size. This can be done and can be achieved. Kevin will know, we spoke about this at the district leaders meetings for many years. It's been going for 20 years here in Redditch. Started with traditional brick-built council housing, if you like, and we've gone along the journey from tenant involvement in design to wooden to PV panels and now to virtually plastic-free. And of course, the council gain is 100% nomination rights. So as in perpetuity, we feed the people. So it can be done.
I think, I'm afraid, we need to move on and answer the last two questions, because we do have to finish strictly at 3 o'clock, because we're very lucky to have Kevin and Mark and other people in this call. And so we need to stick to time, I'm afraid. So I will answer the last two questions, if that's okay. The first one was, are you looking to reduce the plastics coming onto site through packaging, etc., or primarily focusing on the products themselves at this time? We are primarily focusing on the products at this time, but we are also planning to ban plastics coming onto the site. We have, as part of the work that ABSP have done, seen some fantastic examples in London of where they banned single-use plastics coming onto site and the success, and we've got details of how they've achieved that. And we intend to try and replicate that. We might not be as successful as them because our site's nowhere near as large as their site. They said that by banning single-use plastics coming onto site, they had the advantage that they discovered that they saved the time of one member of staff whose job was spent opening those little bags with screws in and things that come with components to site. And so we think there might be some cost savings on site actually by banning the use of single-use plastics onto the site as part of the packaging. But our primary focus is on the products, but we will also be trying to do the work that Mace in London have done around banning single-use plastics as part of the project. What is the difference percentage-wise of plastic use on a normal build plastic to the ones on this project? We think we are getting rid of about 90% of the plastic in the construction process. And that's the target that we've set ourselves. We haven't completed the sort of audit yet of everything that's in and everything that's out, and how much plastic and whether we make by individual components or by weight and those sorts of things. We've got to do a bit of a work on that over the next years to work out how we quantify it. But certainly we think we've got rid of about 90% of the plastic from the house that would normally be in there. I'm conscious it's 14:57, so I will hand over to Mark and to Kevin to thank you all for coming and for your time, and hope you found it very, very enjoyable. Mark?
Thank you, Carl, and thank you, Tom. And I think it's real testament to the knowledge that you two guys have got, that you're able to answer so many far-reaching questions, and it just shows you how deep we've dived into trying to look at all the aspects of this. We won't have got it all right. It's a learning process, but that's what our code's all about: learning, doing it better next time, taking it forward, and thinking of the next mountain to climb. So particularly thanks to Kevin, and thank you for all your contributions. Some really good questions there. I've enjoyed the hour. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.